and a very warm welcome to Work Life. We start with cash. The Queen famously never carries it, but neither, it seems, do a growing number of people around the world. Today, researchers here in the UK are warning that the rise of digital payments could mean vulnerable groups such as the elderly, the less tech-savvy, and just the well-off, or less well-off, I suppose, could get left behind. They say that a few tech firms could end up with far too much power over the economy. Now, let's take a look at some of the numbers. By 2018, just 28% of payments in the UK were in cash, and that number is set to fall to 9% in just 8 years' time. However, across the rest of Europe, things are a little bit different. Cash still dominates. For now, in the countries that use the euro, over 78% of transactions are done with cash, but that share is falling, and it tends to be for the smaller payments. Well, this whole move away from cash is now a major issue for the people who run the world's money. The Bank for International Settlements, which is in Switzerland, it's the sort of United Nations for central banks, said this week it's looking into launching a digital currency.
There's one to chew on. Rachel Statham is economic analyst at the Institute for Public Policy Research, the think tank, and joins me now. Rachel, thanks for joining us. I mean, it does feel like cashless, it's a runaway train at the moment. It's changing so fast. I saw Victoria put up that forecast of 9% of cash use by the end of the decade. Yep. Will it be even that much?
Yes, so we can see the shift away from cash is definitely something that's inevitable. But what we're calling for is action to shape how that transition happens and how to make sure it works for people who are still reliant on cash across the UK. So by international standards, the transition, the route the UK is on is faster than a lot of other countries, and particularly other European nations, as we've heard. And although the prospect of a fully cashless UK isn't on the immediate horizon, we are going to see really quite substantial shifts over the next 10 years. So it's really important that government, regulators and financial service providers are getting ahead and thinking about how to make sure this transition can be shaped to make sure everyone's included. So
basically what you're saying is government need to put the brakes on the speed of change.
Yeah, well, we need to see particularly action from regulators so that the shift away from cash isn't handing a lot of economic power to big tech companies. So we've seen people like Facebook and like Amazon moving into personal banking markets with new offers of things like e-wallets, personal loans, and even digital currencies. And those are potentially quite exciting innovations. But there's really important action needs to be taken to make sure that the gains of the shift away from cash, and particularly the financial gains that are going to these companies, are recycled into the communities that are going to be most affected.
So does it concern you when you hear of, as you were calling it, the UN of central banks, if you like, saying, actually, we might issue a digital currency ourselves?
Well, I think it's quite a different question if central banks are looking at the digital currency issue. So that would be more something like the Bank of England issuing a digital currency, so that instead of just issuing paper money, you can hold digital currency with the central bank. And that's quite a different prospect to what someone like Facebook is proposing. But there's definitely, there's been important questions that regulators and central banks have put to Facebook's plans. And they're obviously, developing their own plans as well. But that could see a really radical shift in terms of how we manage our money, and also how kind of the banking sector in the UK works, retail banking, and what that offer is.
It's interesting, isn't it? The people who might get left behind by all this, that the less well off, the people with less access to tech, for example, the disabled as well, because they can't necessarily hold bank cards. It's interesting that we heard from New York this week, and lawmakers now saying that stores have got to accept cash. I mean, there is a big section of society that, for whatever reason, still operates in cash and still feels much safer with cash.
Yeah. We've heard from our research and from people we've been speaking with across the country about this issue, that it's people who are on tight budgets particularly who are most likely to rely on cash. You take cash out an ATM at the beginning of the week, and that's their budget, and they can see where the money goes. And we've heard things like overdraft charges or kind of unseen fees are real barriers to people moving into digital payments. And we've also been calling for the development of more inclusive financial technologies, so that people with the full range of disabilities are able to access digital payments and take part in the digital economy in a way that too many people are locked out from it at the moment.
You got cash on you?
I don't.
No, have you?
No, I have a little bit, but not much.
Note. I think that's
really,
yeah,
it's amazing. It's changed so quickly.
Yeah. Rachel, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Rachel.
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID, and he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
You like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip, so I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks.
Exactly.
So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install ingrain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
Which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
The process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete. As for the pain,
I barely felt it.
but even in this nation of early adopters, not everyone is racing to get chipped.
Feel less human. I will feel like a robot.
I think, it's so much more data can go into this, when it's in your body.
There's no central registry tracking how many people are chipped, but biohacker Hannes Wellblood estimates between 5 and 10,000.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
Human microchipping may be our future, but in Sweden, it's already reality. Sarah Harmon, NBC News, Stockholm.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
On 21st August 2022, the world was presented with yet another astonishing advancement. You are finally about to see brain implants in human beings thanks to Neuralink. Not just that, you are about to cure all the diseases yourself too and work faster than a computer. Here is how Musk has planned to capture yet another science world. Vision of Neuralink.
Our goal is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. So you want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal, but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine.
Neuralink was incepted with an entirely distinct vision, and why not? Elon Musk owns the company after all. Elon Musk never fails to surprise us. After the astonishing advancements of Tesla and SpaceX, one of his companies, Neuralink, is all set to create the future of brain interfaces. Incepted in July 2016, Neuralink had been working on an experimental medical industry known as BCI, or brain-computer interface. Since then, the company has shown fantastic progress in the field of BCI. Some of this massive progress also includes implanting devices in monkeys and pigs. Moreover, the company's recent progress has led to mind-blowing experiments and created an infamous monkey who can play Pong with the help of nothing but his thoughts. Neuralink has made it possible with the use of digital telepathy, enabled by BCI technology. However, it seems like these amazing discoveries are just not enough for the company, and they had been planning on doing something insane just after the crazy invention of monkey playing Pong. Neuralink is finally ready to set up human trials in its subsequent experiments. It will be happening for the first time in the United States, but this intriguing story comes with a twist. Despite all the efforts by the company, the first device to be approved by the FDA will not be Neuralink. Instead, it is a device called the Centrode from a competitive private company called Synchron. This news might be upsetting to most of you, but let me tell you this. Although the approval has been done to the competitive company, it is a great piece of news for everyone, not just for us, but also for Elon Musk and Neuralink, because competition is the best thing to push the industry forward. It eventually leads to intense competition in the market, which fuels up the brainy minds to come up with innovations and helps to foster discoveries in the markets. In the current situation of the BCI, although Neuralink has not gotten approved yet, It fits into the broader picture. Here is how. When this company was founded in 2016, it gained vast popularity, not just by doing wondrous experiments, but also through tons of fanfare and media attention around the company. All of this happened entirely because of the person behind the project, the King of Hearts, Elon Musk. Soon after the company was established, stories about how Elon Musk would be going to put implants in people's brains started circulating. This was news all over the channels, enunciating how this implant would cure all diseases and make your brain 100 times brighter. It would also allow humans to control the computer with brains, and even interface with artificial intelligence to become the human-machine hybrid being. But the BCI technology soon had to face a dry spell. In between the years 2016 and the mid-90s, BCI just got out of the picture. In these years, BCI made no improvements in the methodology and implementation. But it was all until Neuralink came to the rescue. In fact, this is all from where Neuralink gained its fame from. Since its inception, Neuralink has become famous for revamping technology due to its insane strategy. Neuralink's strategy to make BCI successful.
We're now starting to test out how we measure efficacy. So the FDA has publicly stated that it's not obvious how we would quantify the effectiveness of a BCI, and we're starting to test out some of those parameters with a view towards preparing that packet for FDA approval and then going to commercial launch.
Neuralink has always aimed to combine modern approaches with existing technology. Knowing this, we can confidently say that the Neuralink company is following in the footsteps of Tesla, as Tesla came up with the same strategy. When it came to the automobile industry, Tesla did not invent the electric car. Instead, it packed modern technology into the existing product. Instead of reinventing the concept, Tesla just filled the gaps in the advancement, which worked out completely well, and made the product exceptional. In brief, they solved the inherent problem in the previous design. When it comes to this modern approach by Neuralink, the concept behind the brain computer is pretty straightforward. Your brain is nothing but an amalgamation of some soggy electric meat that controls the rest of your body. It generates specific signals and fires them out through nerves, which go further into your muscles and organs. You can also consider these electric pulses as the programming language of the human body, as the brain sends the command pumps through the spinal cord. However, it comes with a set of other problems in the shape of a physical injury or degenerative disease that break the connections between the brain and the body. Thus, BCI, in reality, functions like a bridge for the electric signals to bypass the broken links. The current system of BCI can be broken into two theories. The first one is invasive, and the second one is non-invasive. The common one, however, is the non-invasive one. You might even have seen one in real life, as it is like a weird hat with tons of electrode sensors all over it. This feature makes it able to read all the electric signals from the brain. Unfortunately, its results are not as effective as they should be. In between these sensors, there is a complete skull. Thus, it might not come off as a surprise to you that this process is not very effective. If it still isn't clear to you, try imagining listening to a concert from the outside of the ground. You might get the bass notes thump, but you can't hear the vocals. To need a good connection to the brain, we should have to go invasive with our BCI. This is precisely where things get a bit more intensified. The current industry standards for BCI are not up to the mark. Current industry standards for BCI.
So Neuralink, I think, at first will solve a lot of brain-related diseases. So it could be anything from like autism, schizophrenia, memory loss. Like everyone experiences memory loss at a certain point in age. Parents can't remember their kids' names and that kind of thing.
The current industry standards for BCI are known as the Utah array. It is like a square computer chip with a white ton of spikes coming out of it. With this reality comes yet another reality that might surprise you. These white spikes go into the brain and play a malicious role in cutting out the chunk of the skull. Now, this might sound crazy, but fortunately or unfortunately, this is how far technological advancements have come. After cutting out the chunk, they spike the Utah array into the outer layer of the brain and then attach a miniature computing device on top of your head. It connects to one end and has a giant wire coming out of the other end. For the process to get successful, they will have to do this twice. You would have 2 spikes in the brain along with 2 computer boxes. It may sound crazy to you, but there is more to it. You would also be having wires coming out of the top of your head. Yes, it is brutal, but it is very effective too. The spikes will help to read the electrical signals from the brain's cortex region very quickly and easily, after which the computer reads the signals and translates them into the computer code. Also, this process allows the person with the brain implant to control an electronic device with their brain. They can control the robotic limb as if it were their own arm, or control a computer that can move a mouse or type on the keyboard. However, this way has shown a number of cons as well. There are a lot of limitations of doing this research that hinder its feasibility and scalability. The biggest downside is that it is only limited to medical research. It would be insane if people would go around the countries with stuff coming out of their heads. It would be impossible for them to even maintain it in their own homes. Also, there are high chances of your body rejecting foreign objects, as the Utah rays are nothing but a bunch of tiny nails on the surface of your brain. It would get inflamed and form scar tissue around the puncture, eventually manifesting the device as useless, making us jump into the next generation of BCI technology. It seems like Neuralink would take over this industry too. How Neuralink would take over the BCI technology.
So you basically take out a chunk of skull, put the Neuralink device in there. You'd put the electrode, you'd insert the electrode threads very carefully into the brain and stitch it up, and you wouldn't even know that somebody has it.
Nowadays, the next generation of BCI technology is led by startup companies, for example, Neuralink and Synchron. As mentioned earlier, Synchron has become the first to reach full human trials. Their testing was initiated by Australia when they reached out to 4 patients receiving their BCI implant. The biggest advantage Synchron got was that Australia does not have major strict policies about what you can put in people's brains. This is why, last year, Synchron was permitted by FCA to start human testing in the United States. The plan is completely ready to be executed, as the US patients have received their Strentode implant. Also, as per the company, he will be the first of the 6 people involved in the $10 million study funded by the National Institutes of Health. To enhance our knowledge about why Synchron crossed the threshold before Neuralink, we can analyze the design of their implants. The makers named the Strentode after the common medical device known as a stent. It is a thin and long flexible tube that can easily be inserted by doctors into the blood vessels of patients. In medical labs and research, these stents are commonly used in numerous procedures. Some of them involve the heart. For example, it is used by doctors to insert into the heart and hold it open if you ever have a blocked artery. Strentode is basically like the stent, which has a combined cluster of electrodes. Synchron uses the procedure in which it inserts the cathodes into the patient's jugular vein and runs it all the way to the blood vessel that is into the brain's motor cortex. After this, they pull the catheter tube back, which expands the hollow mesh wire of the Strentode and interfaces with the walls of the blood vessels. On the other hand, the wire on the latter side is connected to a very small computer device that is implanted inside the patient's chest cavity. All of this process might sound familiar to you, but that is just only because it is virtually the exact same procedure as implanting the pacemaker. The only change in the process is that they implant it into the brain instead of the heart. Then the implant device will connect to Bluetooth, which can be paired to the computer or even to the smartphone. This process has recently become the talk of the town, as it does not involve any visible signs of things sticking out of the head, which means people can easily roam around. Also, people on the outside would not be able to tell if there is an implant in the brain of a human too. Another notable advantage of this system is that it can easily be done in a few hours, and no one needs to open any skull to implement this procedure. In short, there is no chance of any brain tissue damage. This experiment by the organization would be performed on a person suffering from ALS. However, the problem with this method is that the electrode is not exactly inside the cortex tissue and it will interface with the neurons. So the signals are limited and they can't match the bandwidth of the Utah ray. This is where Neuralink comes in. Neuralink has planned to combine the conventional Utah ray with the modern Strentode. With this advancement, Neuralink would not have to remove the skull of the person or put another hole in your head. The company's primary plan is to use the robotic sewing machine to insert the electrode wires into the outer cortex layer. Through this process, the electrodes can go directly into the neuron, which would result in a maximum bandwidth. Each device will also have thousands of tiny wires to have ample space for massive amounts of signals coming out of the brain. The computer device, made by the company to execute this process, is so small that it can fit in the hollow void of the skull, which can easily be sewn up. And once the hair grows back, there would be no sign of the procedure. Neuralink is all set to propose an entirely unprecedented kind of robotic brain surgery that no one has ever seen. By stitching the wires into the human brain, Neuralink is ready to present the final proposal to the FDA, which has no chance of getting rejected due to the amazing concept.
Chapter 13. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.